which is exactly why I developed the Primal Pattern system. Right? The Primal Pattern system shows you the basic parameters. For example, a bend is not a squat. When you're bending, your center of gravity is going down and you're usually doing things down here, right? When you're squatting, you're holding things up here and going down, or you're putting things on your back and going down. So the spine angle is different. So the Primal Patterns squat, lunge, bend, push, pull, and twist are demarcations of which movement patterns cannot effectively be reduced any further without being functional anymore with regard to what it takes to survive in nature. And they're also demarcations of which patterns function both independently and collectively. In other words, throwing a ball is a lunge with a twist and a push strung together. Okay? So that complex pattern is made of 3 primal patterns. If you take any one of those patterns out, it deteriorates the movement to something functionally useless. You couldn't hunt without the lunge, the twist, and the push strung together effectively. Okay? So what the Primal Pattern system is a system of the basic building blocks that all other movements emanate from. Okay? So we combine all sorts of movements in sports and martial arts, and basketball players jump and twist, right? And they land in a squat position, etc. So infant development teaches the infant how to differentiate first its front half from its back half. First it picks its head up and it says, oh, this way, backward, oh, that way, forward. Then it differentiates by picking its head up, its upper half from its lower half. So first it learns it has a front and a back, then it learns it has an upper and a lower, then it goes into the reptilian crawl patterns where it differentiates that it has a left half and a right half. In the process, the infant has to learn how to squat, lunge, bend. So at first it has to learn to squat when it's learning to stand. It has to learn to lunge. It pulls itself up from a lunge position into a standing position, falls down, tries it again. Okay? In the process of getting there to squat and lunge, it was on the floor, bending itself, rocking back and forth. When a child's doing this, that's called a pull, upper extremity pull, coupled with a lower extremity push. Reverse lower extremity pull, upper extremity push. So you've got the squat, the lunge, here's the bend, there's a push, there's a pull, and anytime an infant moves with one arm or leg or turns, there's a twist. So what my system does is it takes the building blocks of infant development, brings them to their maturation, which is the crowning jewel of infant development, is gait or walking. By the time the child walks, it should have proficiency at squatting, lunging, bending, pushing, pulling, and twisting, which means it's now integrated its front half, its back half, its top half, its bottom half, its left half, and its right half. Once the top, bottom, left, and right, front and back are integrated, and it can stand and walk, now body weight movements of squatting, lunging, bending, pushing, pulling, and twisting, and combinations of those movements is the next stage of development. So the system first starts in chunks of integration, front, back, up, down, left, right. Then it goes into more complex movements of integration, squatting, lunging, bending, pushing, pulling, twisting, with the intention being to be able to walk. And finally, when the infant reaches that point, then it has enough motor skill and strength to begin loading. So now the child bends over and picks up a medicine ball and says, "Daddy, play." Or it throws something, which is now learning to implement more complexity of movement. So my system looks at you and says, do you have the motor skill to do any of those movements properly? And if you don't, we have to use infant development methods to get you normalized. Then once you can do squats, lunge, bends, pushes, pulls, and twists with good form, with body weight only, then and only then is it wise for you to begin using resistance training, because any resistance training before then will magnify any deficit. Just like if you got a front end misalignment in your car, and I put 350 pounds of weight in it, it's going to magnify the deficit. The tires will wear out even faster with all that weight in it. So my system tries to create a favorable orthopedic and physiological environment to build progressive strength and athletic ability on, so that it has long-term staying power. So you get better and better as you mature as an athlete, instead of getting more and more fearful that your knee's going to fall apart or your shoulder's going to fall apart, which is typical, right? You know the old saying, the older I get, the faster I was.
Yep.
The older I get, the stronger I was. There's all sorts of guys in the bar that can bench press 400 and squat 500, but we never see them doing anything but arm curls, right?
Yep.
So my point is, you know, get healthy so that you can, you know, be whatever age you want to. I'm 51 and I can still lift well, run well, I can still do chin-ups with one arm and all sorts of stuff that normally only young guys can do. And it's not because I train exorbitant amounts, it's because I know how to train and there's a system. And when you know what you're doing, you get maximum bang for your buck per minute of time. And that's really, I think, what we got to teach people how to do, because they're floundering around in gyms doing all sorts of silly shit that was dreamed up by people on LSD while eating colored Cheerios and snorting probably some kind of, you know, sucanat or powdered sugar of some kind. You know? But it's not working very well.
Yeah.
So that's my spiel on the deadlift and how it correlates to primal movement patterns as well. And then I covered the reason for the difference between the deadlift and squat, which is motor strategy and center of gravity.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, partner.
You got it, man. Thank you. This has been great.